need to plan for the long run, but also execute for the short term, because you cannot just stay in the level of, okay, what should I do tomorrow? You need to have this vision of, again, where we're aiming to be.
Welcome to the Marketing Academy Podcast by GCMO, where in every episode we sit down with a marketing expert to deep dive into a hot topic shaping the industry. I'm Yitzy Tannenbaum. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Marketing Academy Podcast by GCMO. I am Yitzy Tannenbaum, and today I have the pleasure of having Tom Sadon here with me in the Google for Startup studio. Our topic today, and Tom, you have a ton of experience from a lot of cool things, but I'm gonna pick your brain on early stage startups and kind of, as Drake, I'm into quotes today. Starting from the bottom, now we're here. How do you start from the bottom? How do you build yourself up from marketing, starting from nothing? But before that, maybe tell us a little bit about you and kind of how you started from the bottom and how you got here.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's exciting and a really huge fan of this podcast. Currently, the current position is the VP of Product Marketing at Silverfort. But prior to that, and I guess that this will be the focus for today's podcast, I was part of Teammate in where we help new startups, new companies build and scale all across. But my responsibility was the marketing aspect of it. And later on, I was the first employee in a cybersecurity startup. And I guess that both of those roles, in a way, enabled me to shape my perspective on early stage startups marketing.
So you're now in a bigger company. You have a lot of experience with small companies. Which do you prefer?
Oh, challenging question. I think that I liked all of my sons. I like them all. I think that it's different and challenging, and whatever route you'll take, you'll probably face some different aspect of this role, of marketing role, and different challenges. I think that it's up to the phase in which you're at your career. I think that for me, it was great to come from big company. I was before that part of Cognite. So coming from a big company, see the entire operation and orchestration of big marketing team, and then being part of a very small teams, but with the perspective of how it should look like when we'll scale and get bigger. And now got back to this bigger operation marketing team. So for me, it was kind of interesting experience. And I think that in a way, being part of something big enabled me to understand how it should look like when you do it in small doses. But I think that without this background, I was struggling with understanding where and how to scale, because even if you're just one-man show, a team of one marketeer, you need to understand what's the vision. Where do you want to scale? Where do you want to be in, like, I don't know, a year, 2 years, 3 years from now? And for that, for having a solid established vision of where you want to go and how to build this journey, you need to know what good looks like after scaling.
Right. And the challenges tend to be very much the same, but also very different at bigger and smaller companies. A really small company, a few founders, they have a few developers, they're building out the product. They may even have a customer or two, or like a beta customer, and they hire
Prime partners, maybe. I mean,
right. They're hiring someone full-time in-house marketing. I guess maybe start out with, what should the founders what would be the right profile for this?
This is a very tough question, because I think that in a way it may be different for different industries, different type of target audience. I guess that B2B and B2C are probably different in this sense. My experience is mostly B2B and specifically cyber. And I guess that most of the examples that we will be discussing today are focusing on that. But I guess that, at least from my perspective, and maybe this is because this is my background, but I think that for the very early stages, you need someone who understands how to do in a way to do it all, like kind of a cross-functional marketing team, but in one person.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah. But also someone who knows how to really establish messaging and positioning. So for me, this is kind of a product marketing background. But I think that this is the basis for it all. I mean, if you want to find a real product market fit, you need to understand who's the target audience. You need to understand the pain points. You need to understand why people should buy your product. Are you actually touching what's urgent for them, what's painful for them? Are you selling something that they actually want to open their pocket and invest money? I think that you need to understand how to sell this product in terms of what should be told, what should be presented in different channels. And for that, I think that the product marketing background is super important. Later on, you should scale and you will scale, but you can bring additional people to the team in order to enable this scale. But for me, the very early beginning is about messaging and positioning, and this is product marketing.
I think what you talked about is true for teeny companies for a first role, but also gigantic companies. I think marketing teams tend to be very outbound. How am I bringing in leads? How am I building out the funnel? How am I creating a great event or whatever it is? I think there are very few effective marketing teams that do the inbound piece, the affecting the roadmap, affecting the strategy, building the product market fit, coming to the product team and saying, this is the need, this is what we need to do. Because product teams are so strong and they're so opinionated, and we're just a marketing guy. We produce good socks.
Just the marketing guys, but I think that effective marketing team works in a bidirectional manner. We are the people that should bring the product to the market, but also bring the market insight back to the company. Whether it's the roadmap item that we should influence, whether it's the voice of analysts or all kinds of external influencers and analyst firms or whatever voices that are out there and should be in a way embedded within a roadmap or strategy. I think that we're the one to bring the feedback from field, direct feedback, sales feedback, whoever, I don't know, SEs, CS, those go-to-market teams that are in direct contact with the customers, but also maybe our own feedback if we're presenting or attending events and stuff like that. And we're the one that's responsible to bring all those insights back to the company and make sure that they're incorporated with everything, with the product, the roadmap, the way that the product is designed even. I think that it's on us, and doing just one way, just the external way, is effective to some extent. If we want to create real impact and real influence, we also need to bring back the insight to the company.
And those are the interesting companies where you have product marketing reporting to the product team. I think that's where it happens more. But when you report to marketing and the KPIs are marketing or MQLs or SQLs, it's harder for people to do the more less quantifiable, I guess, influence. But I agree, it's super, super important.
And I think it's somewhat soft skill in a way, but I think that a good marketing leader know how to measure you not only by things that are like quantifiable KPIs, but also broader impact, which is in a way not necessarily measurable in like units,
Right.
but there's overall experience and impact that is in a way should be measured.
Absolutely. So back to the small startup, you come in, you do the research, you're building the messaging, you're building the positioning, you're the vision you spoke about, where you work with the founders. Okay, where is this product in a year, the company in a year and 2 years and 5 years? And you kind of start building out a strategy. Where do you go from there? Like, how does building out that strategy look like? What are the few quick early wins, I guess?
So I think it's not only where the company and the product want to be, but also where do you want to be in terms of brand, and what are the channels that you want to focus on? Because some companies will want to go big on LinkedIn and social networks. Some others will want to do more quiet things, but want to acquire audience through events or stuff like that. I think that you need to understand what are the channels that you should focus on, what are the influencers that you should work with, what are the vendors or any kind of actors that you want to operate. and in a way create a bigger picture of where the entire thing should go, not only the product itself, but also what do we think about the market? How do we see this market? How do we see us in this market? What kind of position we want to nail, and take it from there? Because in a way, it will impact everything. If, for example, I'm a founder that want my company to be big on LinkedIn, and I strongly believe that most of the leads will come from LinkedIn, and maybe even organic LinkedIn necessarily, not just paid campaigns. That means that I should focus on more content that bring immediate value. If I'm someone who want to acquire leads through, I don't know, the website, I will focus on the website and develop rich content for the website. If I believe that influencers are the key for my success, I will work strongly with them, maybe on kind of paid content, maybe just develop the relationship. But I need to understand what are the drivers or what are the channels that my target audience will see or look or whatever. I mean, we want to understand what the buyer is looking for when you want to acquire a solution like the one we're solving, and in kind of way reverse it, so we understand where I can find those people, where my target audience is, and reverse back and understand that we should be there as well. We must have strong presence there, and from there, from this point, plan what should be achieved.
So it goes back to stage one. Stage one is when you're building out the vision, the positioning, the messaging, you really have to understand your tone of voice, right? And then also deeply understand who is your persona. If it's a very technical individual, then okay, what are they? Where are they? They're probably on Reddit. They're probably on Substack somewhere. They're not just hanging out probably on LinkedIn. If you're looking for a C-level person, then maybe they are more on, right? So it's finding, once you have the persona, you have the tone of voice, you have the story you want to tell, then you could start kind of creating that strategy.
And you may have few personas. You may find yourself talking to the C-level as the final decision maker, but also want to target the practitioners who will actually use the product, and other teams that are in a way cooperating or partnering or maybe just budgeting without using it. So there may be different personas. Sometimes they will be found on different platforms, different networks, different whatever. And we need to understand where can you find each of them and customize the messaging and everything else around that. Uh, but at the end of the day, and I think that this is something that we tend to forget when we're, especially in our industry, when we're talking about cyber and people with deep technology expertise, at the end of the day, people are people. So even if they want to read some technical stuff, at the end of the day, we need to understand what makes them tick, what they care about, what is painful for them. So we may get to the details later, but we need them to relate or to feel something when they see your brand, when they see your content. We need it to be very self-explanatory in a way that, okay, we hook them. They now understand exactly why they should continue reading. And I think that this is something we tend to forget when we're talking about things that are more technical.
It's something that we hear a lot here on the podcast, and I think is a very, very strong point. We're seeing B2B, B2C methodologies being used in B2B,
Yeah.
right? Those fun, those exciting, those, and has nothing to do with your uber technical product, but it catches me. It sparks my interests. It's like, hey, wait, what is this super B2B company doing?
Yeah, especially if the product is super technical or super complex, and if the messaging is a bit more technical, you want them to read it, you want them to understand it. But in order for them to open this 40 pages PDF, research, whatever, you need to hook them. Otherwise, it can be the most amazing, unique, inspiring doc you'll ever create, but nobody will read it.
So let me ask you, if we're talking about those teeny startups, you know, a handful of people, how, there's so much noise. How do I stand out in you know, they're mammoth of organizations with boatloads of money that are buying at RSA that you and I attended many times. They're buying billboards all over the place and gigantic multi-million-dollar campaigns. How am I with no budget? How do I stand out through so much noise and so many startups and so many messages that almost kind of feel repetitive?
So first, I think that most of them are indeed repetitive. I think that AI and ChatGPT and all the tools that we're now using, blessing and a curse in a way. We're all using the same tools and we're all getting the same results. And if there's no human in the loop to edit or in a way control the narrative, we'll all get the same narrative. And it's really tough to stand out. Especially again, if we're talking about the cyber industry, the industry is so packed, so busy, same messaging all across, all around, and each vendor is the industry first. Is each tiny startup is like the word first, words most. In a way, it is what it is. It's very tough to raise about the noise.
Tom, do you have a pet peeve of a message like single pane of glass, orchestration, visibility? What's the worst?
The bingo that you are like, yeah, we'll need to nail down.
We should do that, like RSA bingo. How many zero trust companies can you find? I like that.
Complete end to end.
End to end is a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. So in a way, we're all the same. I think that beyond the shiny titles and shiny highlights, you need to get real value.
Mhm.
So if we're talking about the cyber industry, for example, and I'm a CISO, the C-level that is responsible for security, I want to understand what you're actually doing. So we need this catchy title and we need this something to catch the eye, but later on I want to read something that makes sense, that resonates. And if I won't get real value and real soon, I won't continue reading. So in a way, you need to be very clear, very concise, and to the point, and enable people to get value. So again, going back to this 40 pages report, it can be about nothing. And using ChatGPT those days, you can easily draft 40 pages report that says nothing at all. But you can also invest your time on something which is unique, a unique standpoint, or something that is never been told to the industry, something more bold, something that nobody else actually said out loud, although most of the industry already know that. It can be going against some, I don't know, some known terms, going against some known axiomas, or anything that in a way intrigue the reader to understand why you're doing things differently. And I think that at the end of the day, this is what startups are aiming for, to change or to, in a way, disrupt the current status. So why we're trying to disrupt it? What's wrong to begin with? But people need to understand it very clearly and very fast. Otherwise, they'll just drown with the noise.
And the more technical a product, the harder it is. You mentioned value, and I very much agree, but I even like to take it a step lower and say, how am I improving my persona's life? How is their life better with my product? Because I think it brings it down to, there's a person at the end of this that needs to be happier because of this.
It's more than that. It's not just be happier. It's
Right.
about and it's take me back to the pain points. It's not just about taking someone who's already happy and bring him to an happier place. It's taking someone who is in severe pain. This is what I'm struggling every day. This is what I'm willing to solve for, and I'm willing to pay real money for this.
Right.
It's like taking someone from the negative side of the of the bar and bring it to the happier place. But they're not happy to begin with.
Right.
They're suffering from something. We need to understand what's this pain point and then bring them to the positive side.
How can we fix it? So you spoke about personas, and obviously at a bigger company, we will have different tracks and different collateral and different stories and messaging per persona. But when I'm starting out, would you recommend to already at the beginning kind of look at the hands-on user, practitioner, the C-level, or would you focus on a specific persona, at least at like starting out?
I guess that it's up to the product and the industry. I have no B2C experience, but I guess it may be easier in B2C where you have very dedicated personas. For me, in B2B, in most cases, you have more than one persona, and oftentimes the pain points are different. And again, if you are not touching the right pain points, people won't invest their time and money in order to understand who you are, what's your product, and if they should purchase it. And in a way, if we're not tackling those problems, those pain points, we won't get their attention. It does not necessarily mean that we need to double or triple or whatever all of our assets and resources and efforts. We can do it all at once. We can try use the same messaging that in a way capture all type of ICPs and target audience. But we need to make sure we need to have it on the back of our mind that we're approaching all of them.
It's a good point. I guess when you're a really small startup, because you don't have the crazy resources just to pump endless messages at personas, you have to be super, super precise. And if the message is so on point that even if you don't have the resources to create a ton of noise, but it just hits home in such a strong, profound way, then probably that kind of overcompensates for the lack of resources that you may have. Now, I know startups, before they'll hire the first person, they'll use a lot of agencies and freelancers. That first person that comes in, how would you recommend they use like the agencies to their advantage? In what way should they use an agency?
So first of all, I strongly believe in hire your weaknesses.
Okay.
So
Yep.
it's up to the person that this company will bring as the first marketeer. And that I believe that they should, in a way, continue working with agencies that complete this person's skills.
Right.
Otherwise, I mean, you're double the effort on something you already have. I guess, and again, this is up to the company and the phase that they're at, and if there's a product or not, if they're still in stealth mode or not. But in a way, I guess that working with vendors that are responsible for PR and all the stuff that are related to the company launch, which is a huge milestone, should continue. And in a way, you can right size all the others because they're, for me, kind of a checklist or a list of things that you need to make sure that you have in place before going out of stealth mode. And I think that when you bring your first marketeer, this is probably will be towards the exiting for stealth mode or towards the company launch, and you want him to focus on that. Again, messaging and positioning and everything we discussed is super relevant at this phase, but you want to take it to the next phase. You want to scale a bit, and you want this person to focus on not just the launch itself, but like the preps or the journey towards it. And
So I've never
that you should focus with the vendors that enables that.
Right. So what I've never experienced going out of stealth. So what does that look like? What are those? I'm sure the list is, we could be here all day, but what are the top 4 or 5 things that a company should have before they go out of stealth?
So the checklist is indeed endless.
Right.
And at the end of the day, for me at least, you must have website up and running.
Mhm.
It can be a very minimal website with just a landing page and kind of a book a demo or contact us page, but it can also be wider and bigger than that. And I think that a great win for a startup will be to punch above its weight in this sense and have established website with product pages, with use cases, case studies, content, blogs, whatever you can get in the time frame you have. Because at the end of the day, you have only one chance to get good first impression. And people may, in a way, get this sense of you and your company around the launch event, whether they saw it in LinkedIn, they read a PR or whatever. They now get to your website and need to understand who you are, and you have only one chance to capture their attention. So for me, having a website which is as rich as possible with tons of content and something that in a way established maturity is a great win. So that's one. And another one is, of course, the PR angle of it. You want these shiny titles of Startup X went out of stealth with Y amount of money in order to sell this and that. You want those shiny titles. It's important to you, to your target audience. It's also important for the team. They want to see their picture in the whatever website. They want to be proud of what we're doing. In a way, it's great engagement. Like, hey, we're now part of this movement. So it's really important, not for marketing perspective, but also for the company itself, this is a milestone. This is something to celebrate. An additional angle will be social networks.
Mhm.
LinkedIn especially, but it can be also Reddit, it can be Instagram. I mean, it's up to the industry and wherever your target audience is. Not only target audience, again, this is something for the entire company. It can be also serve some kind of recruitment or HR goals. So it's up to the goals that you want to achieve. And this is, again, something you need to establish before. But the social is very big at that sense that you may acquire most of the leads out there, again, especially in our industry. I think that this is something you should focus on, create some plan. Who should post what? Who should share what? How to comment to each other in order to boost the engagement? Should we use visuals? Should we use videos, GIFs, whatever? I mean, this is kind of a overarching plan of what should we do.
But you can't really start social media before you go out of stealth, right?
You can, but I guess why not?
Because then, I don't know, like when you're in stealth, you can't really. Can you?
I think that today being in stealth mode is kind of a blur. Yeah, the definitions are more blurred than before. I think that you want in a way to be out there because you want to acquire those first logos. So you need people to understand who you are.
Right.
And you can see tons of coming soon website pages. You can see people that are talking about we're building, what we're building, why we're building it. So I guess that one goal is to create curiosity, but also, again, to establish some confidence that we're working on something big. So you can be in social even before.
Well, that's a really good point because people don't really know how big you are, and you can make it seem that you're a lot bigger than you actually are. And I think a website is a really good point because all roads lead to the website, right? If I'm buying something, there is no way I'm not going to stop at some point on the website. And if there's just a ton there and things to click and go, if it's a landing page, a HubSpot landing page, then okay, this is a startup and that's totally fine. But you can make it seem that you're bigger than you actually are.
And you want to do that because at least for me, and this is my perspective, if I see a website which is so thin and so like minimal, it symbolizes that, okay, they don't want to invest in something which is so important for them. They don't understand the importance. They don't put the right efforts in place. What does it say about this company? So at least for me, this is something to put time and money and efforts.
It's your display window, right? It's like imagine like a fashion shop that has no mannequins in the window.
Which is kind of, disruptive way of saying we don't care. But you should care.
But also no one could really pull it off. Like there's we all know the 2-3 people in the industry that they could do whatever the hell they want but most companies, if you're small, if you're starting out, then make a big splash and make yourself seem bigger than you are. Give the customer confidence to go on that journey with you.
Yeah, and I think that for us in this tiny ecosystem in Israel, we know the founder, we know the friend that works there, blah, blah, blah. But for the target audience, which oftentimes will be
Right.
US-based Fortune 500 companies, they have no idea who you are. They don't see the LinkedIn post saying that you're now building something because they're not your LinkedIn
Right.
friends. And you need to go big because you want to capture their attention.
And that might be actually a good place. We spoke about agencies where an agency can really help you blow that up. Now, a big thing in startups is the founders and always very colorful, very big personalities that the first marketer will have to learn to deal with and navigate.
By now, probably they're the one that mostly dealt with the sales or the pitching. So you're facing someone who is not only the founders and the CEO, but also the first marketeer till you came and the first
Seller. Yeah.
So in a way, you need to understand their perspective. And I believe that establishing good relationship with the CEO is the key to success in this role. The CEOs are so busy and they must face different challenges in different fronts, from the investors and the VCs that they're talking to potential customers and people that they want to, in a way, on board as kind of design partners, customers, whatever. They're talking to tons of people that they want to bring as employees. They're talking to the current stakeholders, tons of noise. And for me, my role, part of it at least, is to give them some quiet in the marketing aspect.
Right.
So till now, you had to deal with it, and you may have or may not have marketing background. You may have done great job, maybe not, I don't know. But my role is to take it from here. So at least in this front, you'll have the quiet and confidence that everything is taken care of.
Right.
So you can fight all the other battles, but leave this for me. But for that, you must establish trust. If there's no trust, that means that it's still a battlefield for the CEO. That means that he should be involved. You want to oversee everything. You want to be part of everything. And in a way, it just creates some more noise instead of reducing the noise. Give him some quiet, give him some confidence that, okay, I'm here. My role is to take care of everything. And again, I think that this is one of the most sensitive yet important relationship to handle. Of course, relationship with sales and the product are also important, but I think that in the very initial phases, having the CEO on your side is crucial.
It has to happen. If it doesn't, then you probably wouldn't succeed. And you also have to understand that it will happen over time. You have to prove yourself. And I think it's true in no matter the size,
Yep.
but specifically with a founder, right? If you take the time and you disappear for weeks or months and then you build a huge website and the founders and the CEO are super happy with it, then probably the next thing they'll give you a little bit more reign. But they are also found that as a marketer at the smaller startups, you kind of use the CEO as the voice and as the face and as the spokesperson, and like being able to navigate that and kind of control that in a way could be very
And
helpful.
very sensitive navigation because, again, till now, he was the first, she, whatever, or the first marketeer, the first salesperson, the first everything. So they know best what happened till now. They get feedback, direct feedback from investors and from potential customers. So they know what lands well. Yet your role, in a way, is to tell them, okay, you've done great so far, but let me tell you another story. Let me reposition this narrative. Let me refine whatever you've just done. Take it to slightly different place and see if it works still. And in a way, people may thought that, okay, it's not broken. Leave it alone. But my role here, and this is the reason you brought me or any other marketeer, is to tell you what's the best way to tell the story. What's the best way to capture the attention. So in a way, you probably as a CEO have your own perspective, but you must listen to this external perspective of the marketeer. Again, with no trust, they won't listen.
It's all about building that trust. And another thing you actually mentioned was investors and VCs, which is a huge part of those early stage startups. I think as marketing, we have a really important role in that relationship. Can you talk a little bit about how to talk to a VC, both as a marketer, but also how to prepare the founders and support the founders in talking? We obviously focus a lot on talking to customers, but how do we focus and how do we support talking to VCs and investors?
It's an interesting question because I've been in both sides.
You've been on
I'm
either side.
part of a teammate, but also part of a startup. So I know as a VC what you expect the founders to communicate, but also understand from the startup point of view, what do you want to expose, what you want to tell, what do you want to highlight versus things that maybe less complimenting at this phase. So you'll want to in a way not hide them, but like put less focus on
Yeah.
things that are less important to you, at least at this phase. I think that, again, it's about understanding the story, understanding the positioning. When we're talking with investors and VC, similar in a way to the discussions we can have with analysts, we need to understand the bigger market, the different categories that are out there, the potential market that we can, in a way, approach. All those three letters acronyms, the TAM, the PAM, whatever. I mean, we need to understand the target market because we want, in a way, convey people that, okay, we're stepping into something big. We have potential to be big. We have the potential to be the next thing. But that means that we understand the market, we understand the potential, we understand where the money is, and again, we understand the pain points. Because if we're not touching the right pain points, people won't buy.
So you worked at a VC, you've seen many startups, you've seen some that did really well and some that did really poorly. And I'm willing, if you're able to anonymize it, can you tell me, like, what did you see startups do that worked really well when conveying a message to VCs? And what are like the top mistakes that you've seen?
I think that in a way, understanding, and again, this is part of understanding the market, understanding the competition, understanding your exact positioning, differentiator,
USP.
big selling points. Yeah, this is something super important because otherwise, investors may see you as just yet one another startup that aiming to solve this and that. But there are tons of startup, and again, we're all having those shiny, similar titles, industry first, whatever, world's most, whatever. We're all most talented in something, but the VCs need to understand why you're different, why you're taking different approach, why you have different technology, why you're the one to solve the problem. Because oftentimes there's kind of a trend, and we can see it easily in cybersecurity. This is the year of. All startups are around this problem. This is the year of. Okay, all startups are around the same problem. Why you're not just one of another 10 startups that are dealing with the same problem, why your solution is better, why your approach is better, why you're different, why you can win this market. And this is something to acknowledge because if you don't understand the competition, first of all, the market map, but also what are the different capabilities, what are the differentiators, and in a way, you need to acknowledge what your weaknesses, where you're strong, but also what should be improved or where you can never go due to technology, due to all kinds of other limitations. You need to understand that. And I think that in a way, it's create credibility because the investors understand that you know the market, you know what you're strong, but also where you're weak.
I think for marketers, and at least for me, I spend more time on my competitors' websites and stuff like that more than my own, because I think every marketer should know to answer that question. How are we better? Both from a capability perspective, from a messaging perspective, from product market fit perspective, and being able to say, this is why I'm better. This is my unique selling point. This is, hey, when I'm doing sales enablement and when I'm meeting a seller, I could say, this is the pitch. This is this is the reason customers chose us over the competition. If you're able to tell that to anyone, I think that is the absolute basis of everything we do. It should be reflected in the collateral and in the PR and in the messaging and the analyst and whoever it is. So the fact that it needs to be communicated, even I think where we communicate it, like on the website, it's kind of hidden. But when you come to a VC, they will outright say, how are you better? And they'll mention the competitor. They'll say, hey, this is the competitor. They already have sales. They've been around for X amount of years. Why should someone pick you over them? And you need a very, very good answer for that.
Especially if you're trying to disrupt very established market or if you're one of the startups that are part of a trend. So again, you're against the biggest enterprises out there, why you're better than established company, 20 years of experience, thousands of customers, why they should choose your solution over theirs. Or if you're part of a trend, there are tens other startups at the same stage, why you and not the others. And you need to have clear answer for that.
Right. And I guess going back to um, being the first marketer in a startup, you've in your VC world, you've seen a lot of kind of very small teams or solo marketers. Any any mistakes and anything that you would recommend people avoid or make sure that they're not like sinking into a unhealthy place?
I think that one of the things will be, and then this is in a way relate to your questions about the founder. I think that one thing will be to align expectations. understanding what you can do as a solo marketeer or what you can do in the very early stages. You cannot expect that a company that is still in stealth mode to generate lead from LinkedIn or from the website. You're in stealth mode. Nobody hears about you. You cannot expect a solo marketeer to generate, I don't know, quarter of your pipeline or whatever. I mean, you need to understand what you should what you should aim for, what you can do. Of course, you need to raise the bar, but you need to be realistic and understand what are the expectations. You need to understand what the budget needed for that, because if you're one-man show, you'll probably need some vendors to support you, whether those are vendors that enable you to do things that you can never do, like build a website, designed, or whatever, like very dedicated professions that you don't have, but also vendors that in a way can scale whatever you can do yourself. But since you're just one person, you cannot control everything. So you need to understand the expectations, you need to understand the budget, and then execute upon it. But we need to understand that in the very early stages, it's probably kind of trial and error thing, or something that is always living and breathing. We're trying something, see if it works or not, and then reiterate, redo it, and try again.
That's a really good point. I think a lot of founders will say, hey, I hired a marketing person, so now I get everything marketing. And understanding that things take time and building a website is not something we could do overnight. And there is a process. So it's setting expectations. It's communicating what you're working on, what you are doing, what you aren't focusing on. You could also probably, assume, work with the founder on prioritizing. What should the focus be? We're not going to bring thousands of leads within the first 3 weeks. Understanding that, the difference between marketing and sales, and we are not sellers, and we can't bring all the sales overnight. And kind of, I guess it's setting expectation, communicating, prioritizing, and it all comes down to being in sync and the trust with your founder.
Yeah, and in a way, I guess that you need to plan for the long run, but also execute for the short term, because you cannot just stay in the level of, okay, what should I do tomorrow? You need to have this vision of, again, where we're aiming to be, understanding the market, understanding the positioning, but do it from the perspective of we're already a grown company, where we're aiming for. This is the brand and the positioning that we should nail. But also understand that we're not there yet. We're still in the very early stages. So what can be done today in order to take us another step in this journey of where we want to be in like 3 years?
That's actually a good point. Probably in like a bigger companies will set out a yearly plan or a 2-year plan. In a startup, you don't know if you'll exist in 6 months. So it's the quick wins. It's what can I do really fast? What are the low hanging fruits, and focus on that. Yes, kind of have everything geared towards the longer vision and where you want to be in 2 years. But you need to acknowledge that whatever you're doing, you need to find those very quick results, where in probably bigger companies, it's okay to have a 6-month, 8-month project, right?
Yeah, for me, a plan for startup in its early stage is more around alignment. This is what we're aiming to do. This is what we'll probably do. This is our focus. Yet it can be changed every day. We're in this dynamic in which everything can be changed. The story can be changed. The product can be changed. The feedback that we get from our target audience may impact the entire thing. We may have different position. We may understand that there's new technology that we should address to. So everything is so fragile. The plan is mostly around alignment with the founders, with the CEO, alignment on the focus, on the goals and the KPIs. But later on, let's see.
Let's see. And actually, maybe right before we go, let's talk about a little bit the later on, when you're ready to hire a few more people and kind of grow marketing. Any tips or thoughts around kind of step 2, once you're out of stealth, things are either the website is there and the social media is going, and you have the PR firm, and like things are slowly falling into place. What happens then?
You need to understand again goal and focus and vision. I think that, and we talked about it earlier. For me, it's hire your weaknesses. So if I'm coming from specific background and I'm the first marketeer, the second one will be from totally different marketing profession in order to complete. everything that I'm doing and to complete my skills. But again, it must be aligned with the vision. If my vision is to be strong on LinkedIn, I will bring someone who can focus on LinkedIn activity, whether it's paid or organic or whatever, but I will bring something that focus on that. If my goal is to have tons of content, I'll probably bring content marketeer or someone that can generate content very quickly. I think that it's up to understanding again your vision, where you want to go, and what are the steps in this journey that should be taken.
Right. So I think my takeaway from this conversation overall is startups are so dynamic and they could change leaps and bounds within like a matter of a week. And what you as a marketer need, you need a very, very clear vision. Where are we going? Where do we want to go? And once I have that goalpost far away, I'm able to build those smaller steps and slowly move to that place. Um, and that's what I need to do. Start really, really small, take baby steps, but kind of look ahead and see where I'm going.
It should be very solid and very established, but also very flexible at the same time.
It has to be. Tom, this was very fun. Before we finish, I want to thank Google for Startups. If you are a startup, Google for Startups is a great place to hang out. All the magic we do here is thanks to three wonderful women, Rotem Simon, Shachar Kedar, and Atara Ron Levy, who make everything work. Tom, this was very, very fun.
Yeah,
We should definitely do it again.
definitely.
Thank you so, so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.